Hello everyone, Lara from Complete Test Success here again. Today we are looking at IELTS writing, academic IELTS writing task 1, and we're going to look at a map. So just in case you're new to these live streams, basically what I do is I show you a question and I'll get you to write the various parts of the answer. And as you're writing them, you'll share them with me and I'll give you feedback. Now, what I can do when I give you feedback is I can tell you what things you're doing wrong. And then with that information, you can improve your scores. So I might show you a weakness, like maybe you have problems with some part of grammar or vocabulary, and you would need to improve those. Or it could be that you're making some mistakes and you just need to avoid repeating those mistakes. So I'll help you to improve your scores by basically getting you to participate, share your writing with me, and then giving you feedback. Hi, Vipin. Good to see you here. Welcome. Welcome to the lesson. Okay, so this question, as I said, is a map. Let me share this with you here. Okay, so there we go. There's today's question. It is a little bit small. The writing in it is a bit small. There's not really a great deal I can do because I need to share your writing on the screen as well. I think this is about as good as I can do for you now. So just if you're using a phone, you might want to make sure you turn the phone sideways, instead of looking at the phone upright, turn it sideways. You'll be able to see the map a bit better. Run the Streets Fitness. Hello, welcome. Chung Drag, hello to you. Welcome to the lesson. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first task for us today is to write the paraphrase. So that's the exact same. Every single IELTS question, every single IELTS essay will begin with paraphrasing. So just in case you're not completely sure about what that means, basically we take this bit at the top, this little bit of text here. The maps below show a rural town as it was in 1983 and as it is now. You take that bit of information and you rewrite that in your own words. So that's what it means to write the paraphrase. So please write the paraphrase, share it with me in the comments, and I will give you feedback on your paraphrase. Walter, lovely, welcome. Han Chung, hello to you. Hi, Alan, good to see you here. Hi, Bashir, welcome to the lesson. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with. Walter, should it say shows, not show? It's more than one map, so it'd be like they show. The maps show, they show. So show is correct in this instance. Okay, hang on, that was fast. The maps describe. Describe isn't great because describe is more like when you give a description of something. So it's not really accurate. Like say something like illustrate would be better. The maps illustrate the changes, that needs to be plural, in a rural town between the years 1983 and now. Well, now isn't necessarily a year. So that isn't right. But we can take a lot of what you've done. Whoa. We can take what you've written and we can definitely use it. So let me just copy that over into the question here. So the maps, I'm going to change this. Illustrate. Changes in a rural town between, and we'll just say not the year 1983, because between the year 1983 and now. Yeah, that's okay, actually. No, I was wrong. I was going to say the year 1983, and then that applies to this, but it doesn't. So between the year 1983 and now. So I was wrong. I initially changed that in my head to years, but it's not wrong. So the maps illustrate the changes in a rural town between the year 1983 and now. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So that's all we really need for our, oh, excuse me, mistake. And I'll need to change the view here. All right. The maps illustrate the changes in a rural town between the year 1983 and now. So that's our paraphrase written. Thank you, Chung. So once we've written the paraphrase, we need to write the overview. Now, instead of giving you a lot of advice and support with that, I would prefer to let you guys make your own mistakes. So I'm just going to let you write the overview first. And then with whatever mistakes I find, I will be able to explain how to improve your scores. Okay, so I think that's about as big as I can make the question for you. Apologies that it is not as big as possibly would be convenient, but regardless, it's very difficult to fit a map and your answers and everything onto the same screen. Okay, so next I want you to write the overview for this question and share that with me in the comments. Alan, the given maps display a rural town in 1983 and now. Perfect, good job. Shaima, hello to you. The graphs illustrate a town in it would have to be a rural area, so you'd need the article there, between 1983 and nowadays. No, now. We wouldn't say nowadays. Nowadays is more like a general term that we would use to set the context of, describing a situation that is different from the past. So nowadays wouldn't apply to what we have here. The plan, it's not a plan, it's a map. So if you were looking at the map, when they have a map of like the inside of a house and they're like kind of looking down on the top and you can see the lines where the walls are, and that would be a plan. And it would also be called a map. But this wouldn't be, what we're looking at here, you wouldn't describe as a plan, unless for some reason it was, instead of having a map of 1983 and now, there might be potentially a map of now and a plan for the future. But in that case, only one of them is a plan. So we still couldn't refer to it as a plan. Okay, so the maps provide information about how a rural town was in 1983 and how it looks and what it looks like at present. At present. Okay, good. Hi, Mohammed. Welcome. Walter, the maps below. Now, in the question, the maps are below. So it makes sense to write below. So we have here the word below, because look, what's below it? It's the maps. So it does make sense to say that. But in your essay, the maps aren't actually below your essay. So we need to remove that word from your paraphrase. So we'll just say the maps and then indicate, not indicates. So they indicate a rural town compared to its current status. No, because you didn't say the past compared to the current status. You said a rural town compared to its current status. So those aren't the two different things shown. So it'd have to be the maps show or illustrate a rural town as it is now compared to its appearance in 1983, and make sure to put a full stop at the end of the sentence as well. My name is Akosua. Welcome to the lesson. Good to see you here. Shuvo, the maps depict the changes in a rural town between 1984 and now. So the question said 1983 and you've changed it to 1984. That would actually be considered as inaccurate information, and that would affect your task achievement score. So all of the other mistakes that we've looked at so far have been vocab and grammar mistakes. This is the only mistake we've seen that would affect the task achievement score. So inaccurate information, automatically a band 6 for task achievement. You could potentially get a lower score for task achievement, but you absolutely will not get a higher score in task achievement. And you think it's just a small mistake, but that's what we're looking for. Accuracy is incredibly important in task 1 for academic. So, double check all your numbers, make sure that everything you say is actually accurate. Hi, Manpreet. The given maps are layouts of a rural town depicting changes, and then because of the approach you've taken, depicting changes, and then it would have to be that have taken place. That have taken place. So you need to use present perfect in the layout of the town from 1983 to 2023, or between 1983 and 2023. So some mainly grammar mistakes that you're making. So it looks like grammar is something that you would need to invest some of your time on, Manpreet. Jatinder, the two maps represent the significant alterations in a village in 1983. So the alterations didn't happen in 1983. So in is the wrong word. So between 1983 and you're making it overly complicated by saying after 4 decades. So basically when you say that, the reader isn't going to automatically go, oh, okay, yeah, that's now. They're going to think, how many years after 83? So it's 40. So, they're doing the math like 80, 90, 30, yeah. And it's, so like what you're doing is you're making them do math to figure out what you're talking about. So think about, when you're writing your essay, don't try to think about how can you change every word. A bigger priority is how can you make it easy for the reader to follow what you're saying? And by saying after 4 decades, you're definitely not making it easier for the reader. You're making them do the math to figure out what you're saying instead of just saying what you want to say. So be careful with that. And Chung Drag Dorji, looking from an overall perspective. So just use the word overall. Overall is appropriate. The maps illustrate the transformation of a rural town from the year 1993 to from the year until now. So not to till, but just until now. And again, the year is 1983, not 1993. So we're looking at the same problem as we had with Shuvo earlier on, where you now have inaccurate information and you're dragging down your score, your task achievement score. Vipin, the given maps depict a rural city. No, a town and a city are not the same. So, changing the meaning is not acceptable. What you have to do is have the same meaning. And if that means you have to use the same word as the question, that's better. It's better that you use the same word as the question than changing the meaning. So prioritize having the same meaning over changing words. The given maps depict a rural town. The first map shows how it looked in 1983, whereas the second depicts its present form. Good. Okay, Jatinder, overall, the prime changes that occurred in infrastructure and amenities in a rural... the prime changes occurred in the infrastructure. So the infrastructure is there are many different types of infrastructure. So you might want to be, no, not you might, you want to be more specific than that. What types of infrastructure are you talking about? So try to be more specific with that. And now this time we're not going to say a rural town, because in the paraphrase we've already mentioned the rural town here. So because we've already mentioned it here, we're not going to say a rural town, we're going to say the rural town, or even more likely just the town, because we've already told the reader we're discussing this town. So now it's a specific town. It's the town we already mentioned. So we use the town in this case. Again, you don't need to repeat how much time. So changes to the infrastructure and amenities, it's not descriptive enough. It's very vague. So you wouldn't get a high score for task achievement with an overview like this. You need to describe what happened. Now, you're correct that you shouldn't mention any of the specific changes. So you are correct in that you're not giving the specific changes. So that's good, but that doesn't mean you be vague. It doesn't mean that you should be vague. So it's kind of like that fine line between don't mention anything specific, but at the same time, you need to be descriptive about the types of things that happened. Hi, B. Winkle. The provided maps depict a village in 2 years, which were 1983 and present. We wouldn't really call the present a year. So, no. So it'd be the provided maps depict a village. It's not a village, it's a town. Those are different things. A town in the year 1983 and at present. So at present. And don't forget the full stop at the end. And Chung, overall, the forest has been replaced by a lot of residential areas. That's too specific. That's too specific. While the farmland was taken over by a petrol station. And that's just a very small thing that happened. So in the overview, you're looking for general changes. These specific changes that you're mentioning are not appropriate for an overview. So this is not appropriate. This is not how to write an overview. So look more generally what happened. So like, for example, you might say there are fewer natural areas. You're saying that there are more residential areas. That's fine. But saying specifically that the forest has been replaced by a lot of residential areas, like that's not appropriate. So you cannot be too specific like this. Overall, drastic changes could be seen. That is far too vague. That's not appropriate. Jatinder, overall, the significant changes occurred in infrastructure and amenities in rural. Okay, so we looked at that already. Rennie, hi Lara, sorry to interrupt, but I want to take the opportunity to thank you for your help and support. You're very welcome. One-on-one coaching helped me a lot to make complex topics simple and easy to understand. Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Rena. Thanks for the feedback. Good to hear it. Glad to hear you got on well. Alan, overall, it is readily apparent that the city has become more residential with more facilities. Yeah, that's better. This is better. So what Alan is doing here is describing the types of changes. So more facilities, good. There are more, what you would want to say, like the city has more, let's say, residential buildings rather than become more, but it has more residential buildings and facilities. Good. Again, so this would allow us, like say, there are 3 tiers of overview. There's like the overview that is basically not acceptable. There's the overview that's good overview. Now this is a good overview, but then more descriptive again would get you up. So you'd probably be looking at like a band 6 for task achievement, because you're doing what you need to do. It's an acceptable overview, but it would need to be more descriptive than this again to get a higher score. So yes, but not descriptive enough. So if you're looking for a band 7, 8, 9, this overview wouldn't get you there. Whereas if you're aiming for a 6, or even if your vocab and grammar were really, really good, and you might get a 6.5 with this. In general, though, my students will get higher scores in task achievement and coherence and cohesion than they do in vocab and grammar. So this is a good start, but not as good as I would like. Overall, there are 4 changes that happen to the town, while there are 3 buildings are the same. No, we need to say the types of changes. So not just how many, but the types of changes. Manpreet, overall, it can be seen that over the years, a dam, supermarket, and cafe have been constructed. Moreover, houses got multiplied. Well, no, there are additional houses, and the forest has been chopped down. Well, not erased, but chopped down. This, again, unfortunately, Manpreet, is not suitable because you're mentioning the specific changes. So an overview should be a general description of the changes. If you're mentioning specific things, it's not an overview. Automatically, that you're getting a band 5 for task achievement, a band 5 or lower. It could be lower, but definitely not higher than 5. So that is not an overview. That is not what we want in an overview. The given maps illustrate a rural town in a year which is between 1983 and now. No, it's not a year between 1983 and now. So what you said is, it could be 1 year. It sounds like it's 1 year, and it's a random year between 1983 and now. But it's not. It is the year 1983 and now. So the way you've described that doesn't match what the question shows us. Shaima, you're going to have to be careful with your punctuation. So you need a space after the commas. You need a capital letter at the start of the sentence. Okay. Overall, there are 4. Oh, did we look at this already? We did. Okay. The maps illustrate a rural town in 2 different periods. One is presenting 1983, and it wouldn't be another because you've told us 2 periods. So it's not another, it's the other, because you've already told us there are 2. And the other is the current time. The current time. We'll just say now. Now is more accurate. Hi, Bashir. Overall, forests which were plentiful at the beginning have disappeared completely and are replaced by buildings and more infrastructure such as supermarkets, which were built at present. Again, that is too specific. So that isn't appropriate either. And Walter, there was a large forest compared to the housing development area that is now seen among the new developments. A new dam was constructed, a shop was replaced by a supermarket. Too specific? Too specific again. And Chung, overall, this rural area has been converted into a metropolitan. Is that correct? Not quite. We wouldn't really call that. No. There is less land for farming and forests now, while more modern facilities have been built. This is looking good. I like this. Yep. So we're saying more specifically modern facilities. Okay. Yeah, that's a good overview. Vipin, overall, the infrastructure of the town has been changed with more houses, facilities for electricity production and shopping. Just one moment now. So, yes, I like it. That's good. Overall, the infrastructure of the town has been changed, and let's say like to accommodate more housing, facilities for electricity production, and shopping. I like it. Okay, good. Let's go with that. Let me show you the overview that I wrote. I like when I'm writing overviews, what I like to do is I like to describe kind of the general appearance of the map. Most teachers, most students don't do it. It's not 100% necessary that you do it either, but it's just that, as an overview, if you're able to kind of describe what the map generally looks like, like what's going on, what are the main features that would feature in both, what are the main features in both, and I'll always come to something like this. So overall, Main Street cuts through the center from west to east. So that just kind of gives the reader kind of an idea that, there's kind of a road going across that way. And then it is intersected roughly halfway by River May, which extends from north to right. So we have the river coming through here. So that's true for both maps. And it just gives the reader a nice idea of like, okay, there's a town with a road going this way and a river going down that way. Okay, so it kind of gives them a general idea of the layout of the map, and then talk about the changes. The main changes are an increase in residential and commercial buildings. That's what I said. So what I would worry then is like electricity production, is that too specific? And, do we want to try to avoid being that specific? So the next thing then from there is that we need to, excuse me now, just kind of losing track of where I am. The next thing we need to do is we need to decide how will we organize the details paragraphs. So generally speaking, to organize our details paragraphs, we're going to have two details paragraphs, and this is where we're going to describe all the specific information. So some of you wrote overviews with specific information. I said that's not where to put the specific information. The overview should be a general description. So now it's in these details paragraphs, in these body paragraphs, we're going to put the specific information, but we need to organize it. So what are we going to put in the first paragraph, the first details paragraph, and what are we going to put in the second details paragraph? So I'd like you to answer that question for me. And as always, just share it in the comments and we'll have a look together. As you're doing that, I'll just continue giving feedback to some other students here. Overall, the town has become more residential. We wouldn't say it's a residential town. You wouldn't use that to describe a town, but you would say, the town has more residential buildings or residential areas, something like that. However, a lot of green land and farms has been compromised. Yes. You would need more than that as well, though. But yes, good, but you need more. You would need to be more descriptive. Okay, Jatinder, overall significant changes that occurred in forest area of the town. So you're only talking about a small section. So you're talking about, like the corner up here, but your overview should reflect the full map as to what happened. When you say too specific, what be the score scale for that? If your overview is too specific, you're looking at a band 5 for task achievement. it doesn't affect, you could still get a higher score for coherence and cohesion, vocab, grammar, but with a specific overview, your task achievement score will stay down. Overall, the town has changed to be more modern by introducing new buildings. That's still too vague. It's become more modern by introducing new buildings. It's okay. It's not descriptive enough for a high score. When I write about maps, I like to describe what the first one looks like in one paragraph and the changes in the second paragraph. What do you think of this organization? I am not a big fan of that because I find there's a lot of repetition. Because, if you describe the forest in the first one, then you have to mention the forest again in the second body paragraph. So you end up repeating yourself a lot. If you mention the school, the police, the post office, the school, police station, and post office in the first one, then in the second one, you have to say they're still there. So what I prefer to do is just go like, there was a forest that's been replaced by a road and some houses. And of course, we need to give the locations as well. I'm just saying briefly. There were 5 houses on the west end of Main Street, and they're still there, but there is the addition of High Road leading towards the north to accommodate extra housing, which has replaced the forest. So you can kind of say everything without having to repeat stuff so much. So that's why I'm not a fan of the organization you've suggested. It tends to result in a lot of repetition. And you don't have a lot of time. So repetition, and also for coherence and cohesion, repetition isn't good. So those would be the things to look out for, Alan. Good. Talking about what was there and how they were replaced. I'm not really sure. Main road. Yeah, that's kind of more that's more what I would go for personally, Manpreet. This is the one I like to do. Kind of cut the map in half. Build from scratch. I see now what you're talking about. Sorry, Han. So number 1, talking about what was there and how they were replaced, talks about what has been built from scratch. The only thing I'd worry about this suggestion, Chung, is are you going to have relatively even paragraphs? Like, you don't want one paragraph that's very long and one that's quite short. Now, I haven't looked at it properly, but that would be my only concern. Are we going to end up with one very long and one very short, or are they going to be about the same? And that would be my only concern with your one. But definitely Manpreet's is always my favorite because it just helps when you're describing the location. If you cut the map in half, let's have a look at this here now. If you cut the map in half, when you're describing the location, it gets a lot easier. What have I done wrong here now? Okay, if you cut the map in half, so we're going to go like this, and paragraph 1 is going to be north of Main Road. And what you get to do is you get to say, okay, like, mention these houses. I'd actually probably go, do you know what? I wouldn't do what I would do similar to what Manpreet has suggested, but I think it might actually be easier to cut it along the river. So maybe cut it this way along the river, and then have paragraph 1 about the left side and paragraph 2 about the right side. That's what I'd like to do. Like I was saying, the reason I like to cut it in half is because you're really able to talk about the locations a lot more easily. So, like, for example, we'll talk about these houses were there in 1983 and just describe, they're on the west side. And then what you can say is, next to that, you can say, what happened there, and then along the road and opposite, like, you can kind of move along from one place to another. But if you do it more randomly, you'll end up with, having to describe, if you want to describe the things that stayed the same, then, you're going to talk about these, and then you're going to talk about these, and then you have to jump back in the next one, and you're kind of going all over the place. So describing the locations of the things is more difficult if you do it a different way. And that's personally why I far prefer this. Okay. So it doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. It's just my preference. Is it mandatory to write body paragraphs in a clockwise? No, definitely not. You just have to describe where the things are. So you just say, this was in the northwest, below that, to the south of that, or, to the east of that, above that. So just say where the things are so that the reader can follow you. And that's all you need to do. Okay. So from there, what I would like you to do is to write the first body paragraph, the first details paragraph. So basically, what you're going to write about is anything that was to the west of the river. So you're going to tell me about everything on this side of the map. Okay, so I'll leave that with you. And again, as always, just share it with me in the comments, and I'll have some feedback for you once you share it with me. Mohammed, overall, it can be observed, just mind the spelling there of observed, that the main ratio of increase there are number of homes and other sector is high road at now. This is unclear, Mohammed. So spelling is one issue, but I think vocab, just generally vocab and spelling, because I can't understand what you mean. It seems to be because you're using the wrong vocabulary. It doesn't look like it's grammar problems that are stopping me from understanding. So you're going to have to work on your vocab before you're ready to get a higher score. Okay, so like I said, we're focusing on details paragraph number 1 on the west side of the river. So write that paragraph, share it with me in the comments, and we will have a look, and I'll have some feedback for you. While you're writing that, let me just share a link with you guys here. I have every week, I have free live feedback lessons on Zoom. So those are my free classes on Zoom every week. And those are for my email subscribers. So you'll find the link here in the comment, or you'll find the link in the video description. So basically click on that and sign up. And once you've signed up, you'll see a full schedule of all the lessons, all the upcoming lessons, when they are, and what topics are covered. So we cover a different topic every week. We'll cover reading, listening, all the different tasks for writing. So like, task 1 general, task 1 academic, task 2, and then we'll also cover speaking, and we do Q&As. So if you want more support, click on the link and sign up there. One above the main road, the dense forest has been erased. So that would definitely be part of our details paragraph. But just consider, what does the reader know about the map? And we haven't told them enough about you haven't described in enough detail where that forest is. So previously we told them that main road runs from west to east. And now you're saying that the forest is north. So like, will they know that it's over here? Or will they think the forest runs the whole way across the full length of the map? And the reality is, if we don't tell the reader, then the reader doesn't know. So you need to be more careful when you're describing the locations. Are you describing it accurately enough that the reader understands? Or are you just kind of generally saying, no, it's up there somewhere? So you'll need to be more specific with your description of the location. The other thing is the word erase. We don't use it like that. So, we would say, like, for a forest, we chop down. You could just say it's gone. It has been replaced by, and say what's there now. So the word erased isn't appropriate either. Hi, Lube. Welcome. Good to see you here. Over the west, so we would say on the west side of the river, the housing that was located on the west side has been extended by removing the forest, while the police station while the school and police station remained unchanged. Can you describe more accurately where the forest was, where the police station, where the school are? Describe where they are more accurately. And there's also a road. I can't see what it's called. High Road has been built there as well. So I would make sure that you're including all of that stuff. Also, there's a bit more going on in the east side of the map. So, like I said earlier on, we want to have our paragraphs at roughly the same length. So we want to have roughly equal paragraphs. So what we've described so far, what Shaima has described here so far, it's quite brief. But when we include the locations and we include High Road, it will be a bit longer. But even at that, when you can see how much we need to talk about in body paragraph 2, it would make sense for us to include the dam in this paragraph, in paragraph 1 as well, so that we're covering roughly the same amount of information in each one. So definitely a good start, but we need to make those changes. So we want to know, where are those things more specifically? We want to include High Road, and I would include the dam as well. Lube, I gave my test. I had my test on the 28th of November, but I'm still watching Complete Test Success regularly because I love the way you teach. Thanks, Lube. It sounds like you got your scores. Congratulations. And thank you. Jatinder, in 1983, the northwest side of the town as full of tree, which converted into the house in the present time. Okay, so you've spelled the word tree incorrectly, but it's okay to use the vocabulary on the map. So the map says forest. There's nothing wrong with you using the word forest in your answer. So I would say, you can use a range of vocab. You can change the terms that you're using, but it is rarely, if not never, necessary to change the terms that are used on the map. Generally, you can use exactly what words they've said on the map. And I would suggest using the word forest instead of saying some trees, because it's different. Some trees and a forest aren't exactly the same thing. So just be careful with that. Walter, great help, Ryan. You're a proper legend. Thanks, Walter. It's midnight here in New Zealand. I'm going to bed. Fantastic. You're very welcome. Hopefully we'll see you here again. Take care, Walter. Manpreet, on the northwest side of the map, the forest has been chopped down and a street named High Road has been built and houses have been constructed on both sides of the road. Very nice. Okay. Whereas the police station and school remained as it is as they were, have remained as they were earlier. Now, Manpreet, this is really good. This is really strong. But what you're missing is the fact that some houses are still there. So you're going to have to mention these houses here, the ones that were already there. So you're going to say they're still there. And you're going to give the locations of the school and the police station. Because what you have to imagine is, like, imagine that the reader of your essay cannot see the map. So you're not writing an essay for someone to check if you're correct. It's not going like, oh, is this person right? Yeah, this is right. This is right. This is right. I mean, technically that's what is happening, but that's not the approach you should have. You should be writing it as if you're going to give it to someone who cannot see the map. And will you give them enough information? Like, imagine you're taking your essay, you're giving it to someone, and that person's going to read what you've written and try to draw the map based on what you've written. Now, if you don't tell them where the police station and the school are, am I right to say that? If you don't tell them where the police station and the school are, they won't know. If they're drawing the map, they won't know where to put it. So you should give them the locations of all of the items, all of the key features as well. So you're doing very well, but you forgot the existing houses and you forgot the locations. But besides that, that's a good attempt. Liansu, following from west to east road. So it would be something like this. Moving from west to east along Main Road, there is a forest area which was replaced by many residential buildings. Additionally, there is development of a road to reach there. Yeah, so I think the location saying following from west to east, I mean, what you're saying is that you're going to go along the road like this, that you're going to start here and you're going to move along like that. But you're kind of getting ahead of yourself, because really we just need to know where are we at the moment. And if you just say, in the northwest corner of the map, it's like, okay, we're up in the northwest corner. And then you can say, like, there was a forest, it's been replaced by some houses. You could even say the number of houses, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 has been replaced by 9 houses, and a road has been constructed. A road named High Road has been constructed for access to these houses. So that's the type of thing that you would be looking for. So your description at the moment of the location is, you're kind of getting ahead. Just start with where you are and then describe the next part of the map, where we are on the next part of the map when that time comes. Chung, on the west side of the River May. Nice. I like this. A good start. The forest was completely cut down to make. Okay, so the west side. Now, again, we need a more specific location. So the west side of the map, the west side of River May, isn't necessarily here. It could be here. It could be here. It could be here. So we need more specific locations than you're giving, and not just you, Chung. Like most of the students, your locations aren't specific enough. So the forest was completely cut down to make way, or make space, not place, make space for plenty of residential areas. We would say to make space for a residential area which has, I can't remember, did we say 9 houses? Yeah, with 9 houses. So give the number of houses, be specific as possible. So in the overview, being specific was a problem, but in the in the details paragraphs, it's not going to be an issue if you're too specific. So give the number of houses, give the location, be more specific with those things. The police station and school remain. So again, where are they? Give those locations more accurately. In the north of the River May, in the north of the River May. So it would be in the north of the map. A dam has been constructed on the River May. Similarly, shops are converted to supermarket in the northeast side of the map. Yep. So we get to that later. We haven't seen we haven't seen all the information for body paragraph 1 yet. In the left-hand side of the river, there was a forest in 1983, which, and we have to use present perfect because we're talking about, we don't know when it happened. We know it happened before now, so that would mean we're talking about present perfect. So it has been replaced. You're correct to use passive structure, but we would need to use present perfect passive. So it has been replaced by housing, not housing facilities, just housing, along with a high road. Well, along with a road named High Road. In the north side, a dam has been built. The school and police station, along with the main road, remain unchanged. Yep. And then again, you've forgotten those 5 houses that were there. So more specific location of the school and police station. And don't forget to mention those houses again. So that the fact that they were there in both maps, we need to mention that. We can't ignore that. Very important to include all the key features as well. You can get a low score if you let's say you wrote a fantastic essay, but you forgot to include those 5 houses. That brings your task achievement score down a lot. If you forget, ignore, omit anything like that. So be really careful that you don't overlook or ignore anything. You have to mention everything. Shemaya, on the west side of the river, the houses that were located on the southwest have been extended. It's not that the houses have been extended, it's the number of houses. So additional houses have been built. So if you say the houses have been extended, it's, the house was this big and they built another bit onto the side of it. So now the house is bigger than it used to be. So that's actually, you're describing a different thing. What you're describing doesn't reflect what's shown on the map here. Between those new houses on the north of the river, a new dam has been built. Okay. The main road that crosses the town from west to east, on the west side, it's separated between the school and the police station. Both of them remain unchanged over the period. So we don't need to describe the road. We've done that earlier. So we could say, we could give the locations of the police station and the school. We could say, next to the River May, to the west side of River May, the school and the police station are located on the north and south sides of Main Road. The north and south side of Main Road, respectively. So that would be kind of an easy way to do it. Okay, so I have 3 more comments. I have a comment here from Chung and a comment from Vipin, and then we're going to finish up for today. On the east side of the river, the post office and the windmill have been left intact. Okay, so we haven't moved on to that side. In 1983, the northwest corner of the town was occupied by a forest. So you need the article, a forest. But now it has been replaced by new houses and High Road, which connects the houses with the main road, which runs from east to west. No changes have been made to the houses on the western end of Main Road. Good. And we could say how many houses as well. Like say how many new houses were built here. Say how many houses there were that have remained the same. The River May flows from north to south of the town. We had this information about the River May flowing from north to south. So remember, I said I like to include that in the overview. So that information would be there. And water from the newly constructed dam in the north flows through the river. Okay, good. The school and police station remain in their old location on either side of Main Road, just before it crosses the river. Very nice. Very nice. Very well done. Okay, really the last comment. Excuse me. Really the last comment this time. On the right side of the map, just above the main road, a supermarket has been built. Okay, so we won't go to the other side. We won't go to the other side. Obviously, that is necessary. We just don't have time to look at that today. But yes, of course, once we've finished describing the west side of the map, the next paragraph would go ahead and describe the east side of the map. So I think you have a pretty clear picture. We haven't looked at a perfect paragraph, but I have explained what things were missing from many paragraphs. So you should have a good idea of how to write that now. Don't ignore anything. Make the locations as specific as possible. Those are the problems we saw. People not including all the key features, people not describing the locations, accurately describing the locations. And that's pretty much it. Besides that, you're all doing well, but you do need to make those changes to make sure that you're getting a high score, because without it, especially without all the key features, that's going to keep your score down. Without accurately describing the locations, that's going to stop you getting a very good score. But not including all the key features, that really hurts your score. Your task achievement score comes down a lot if you make that mistake. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, I have free live feedback lessons. Sign up with the link in the video description. I'll be back with another live stream next week. So see you next week in the live stream, or I have a live feedback lesson on Zoom tomorrow. So I'll see you there, or I'll see you here. If anyone wants one-on-one support, is my email address, lar@completetestsuccess.com. Reach out if you need one-on-one support to help you achieve your IELTS scores. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye-bye for now, and take care of yourselves. Best of luck to those of you who have IELTS tests coming up. Okay, bye-bye.